everyone, I'm JG and welcome back to Music Forever, where today I'm bringing you some track reviews for some of the new songs that we got off of the most recent greatest hits kind of compilation from Green Day, entitled God's Favorite Band. I'm only reviewing the two new unreleased tracks from this thing here today, the track Back in the USA, as well as a new version of their existing song, Ordinary World. I'm not reviewing the rest because it's a greatest hits album. You know, I don't really review those here on the channel because it's not really an album of new material, it's just old stuff. So really, I'm just going to be talking about these two new tracks here today because I do want to spread my opinion on them because Green Day is one of my favorite bands, so I feel like I should definitely, put my thoughts out there concerning these couple of tracks and, just what I think about them. However, I did do a video here on my channel a couple weeks ago about, greatest hits albums and why I think they're just pointless overall. This was the album that kind of sparked me making that video, even though that video isn't entirely about this. But regardless, if you want to check that out, it's going to be linked down in the description as well as on screen here at the end of the video if you want to check that out. But yeah, so let's get started with these couple of tracks here. The first of these two tracks, or really the latter of these two tracks as it appears in the track listing on this Greatest Hits album, is the brand new song Back in the USA. I should talk about this one first, I think, just because it's the new song, the completely brand new song that is, and overall, this song is, pretty average in my opinion. It sounds like it could have been a leftover track from Revolution Radio. And I liked Revolution Radio for the most part. I thought it was just a solid album overall. However, this feels like it would have been one of my lesser favorite tracks on the project, just because it's pretty, typical track through and through, I guess you could say. There's nothing about it that's really bad, but at the same time, nothing about the track really stands out to me as being all that great or all that memorable. This is not, the chorus isn't particularly, memorable, at least by some of Green Day's standards with some of the previous tracks that they've given us in the past. It does have an energy to it, I'll give it that. Just kind of that, typical sort of Green Day pop-punk kind of energy. The lyrics deal a bit more with some more, political, I guess, modern social issue type topics. It's kind of similar to what you saw in Revolution Radio, if you are familiar with that album. And it's just kind of an average song in my opinion. It's nothing to be super excited about, and this is coming from a massive Green Day fan, the massive Green Day fan that I am. I think they've put out better material in the past, and overall, it's just, if you told me this was a leftover track from Revolution Radio, like a B-side or something, I would completely believe you, because that's what it sounds like. Just with the production of the track, sounds like it could have fit snugly onto that album. It's overall just average. I guess if you're a Green Day fan, you're going to check it out anyway. And, it's definitely not a waste of your time to check out, but by no means is it, some spectacular hidden gem or something like that. Overall, it's just average in my opinion. And then kind of the second track here, but not really the second track, the new song that is, because it is an older pre-existing Green Day song, just kind of a new version of it. Ordinary World, it was the closing track on their last album, Revolution Radio. And in the context of that album, I thought it was a pretty good song. It wasn't exactly one of my favorites on the album, but it wasn't one of my least favorites either. It was just a solid song in my opinion. But this new version here features Miranda Lambert, who I didn't know who that was, but according to Wikipedia, she's like a country artist, and that kind of explains why I didn't know who it was, because I don't really like country music at all. Not that I hate it or anything, or hate anyone who likes it. It's just not really my thing, honestly. And just kind of after finding that out, I was a bit curious to see how this track would go, just because Green Day and country music are kind of very far apart from each other. I think that's kind of the best way to put it. So I was kind of interested to see how this would go, but at the same time, given that I'm not a fan of country music at all, I wasn't super excited to hear this. And overall, I can't really say that I'm a big fan of this newer version of the song. I definitely prefer the original Ordinary World. And it's not really, it's not terrible, honestly. But my greatest problem with the track is just that the vocals aren't really mixed all that well together, in my opinion. It sounds like it's the original Ordinary World, and then Miranda just recorded her version of it, her singing it as well, and they layered both her and Billie Joe together, but they didn't really, I feel like they just didn't mix the vocals together correctly. I'm not really, super familiar with production or anything like that, but this just doesn't sound really mixed all that well. It's like both are singing kind of at the same volume. They're not exactly harmonizing with each other. They're just both singing the same exact lyrics at the same time. And their voices, of course, just sound very different from each other. Billie Joe, if you're a Green Day fan, you know what he sounds like. I'm not going to go into detail about that. But Miranda does have a sort of, country sound, I guess you could say, that country sort of just sound that I'm not particularly a fan of, like I said. And, you know, I guess to a degree, it's in part, the reason I'm not a big fan of this is because I'm not a big fan of country music. I kind of came to expect that, but even still, like, just the mixing of the two vocals here just doesn't really work all that well. It just sounds really clunky. It just sounds like the original Ordinary World, and then they took the new vocals and just layered them on top of it, like, and didn't bother to mix anything together properly, so it just sounds really clunky and lazily put together. Honestly, yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. Like I said, I prefer the original Ordinary World. And, you know, if you're a massive Green Day fan, chances are you're going to check this out as well. And, you know, maybe if you're a fan of country music and you're a fan of Green Day, this might be right up your alley, honestly. But it's not really up mine, honestly. So, yeah. Overall, I'd have to say that these two new tracks that we got from Green Day are just kind of average overall, I'd have to say. Back in the USA, like I mentioned before, is just an okay song all the way through. Nothing really bad about it, but nothing really spectacular either. And then the Ordinary World, the new version of the track, I don't particularly favor the song. It's just, in my opinion. Though part of it I do feel like is just because I'm not a big fan of country music. And, you know, that just is my personal taste. If you like country music, like I said, you might enjoy it more than I did. So overall, yeah, those are just my own two thoughts here on these songs. Yeah. Well, as a massive fan of Green Day, it's just, you know, that hasn't really left me with much of anything kind of going forward. But, you know, these are just kind of bonus songs, I guess you could say, given that they're being released on a Greatest Hits album as, like, extra tracks. So I'm not really, you know, all that disappointed or anything like that. But yeah, those are just my thoughts on these couple of new Green Day tracks. Feel free to have your own. In fact, leave them down in the comment section down below. I'd like to see them. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future album reviews, track reviews, and just other music-related content. Follow me on all the social medias I have linked in the description. Thanks for watching, and stay golden.